Now at 10 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, the condition of a local street raises safety concerns for residents.
One man's act of kindness sparks a community-wide effort. Volunteers rallied to help an elderly neighbor.
And millions of Texans who depend on food assistance get good news. How soon full benefits could resume.
We have some warm and windy weather in the short term for us all the way to the weekend, but after that, hopefully some of that storm on the west coast may affect us. We'll have all that coming up in just a few minutes.
And the first round of the high school football playoffs has arrived. We're going to have highlights, final scores, and all the updates here later on in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Shawna Currie.
And I'm Brubaker.
For years, residents on Julius Street in Victoria have been bumping, hopping, and worried by the condition of their road. As 25 News Now reporter Ray Mosley reports, they will soon get some relief as the city plans repairs.
Julius Street is visibly in need of repairs. Local resident Lupe Gutierrez is a homeowner on Julius Street and says he would like to see the roads repaired.
If an accident or an emergency happens out here, there's only one way in, and if a fire truck or an ambulance is here, just trying to get in and out, it's pretty hazardous. You're real close trying to get out of here.
Gutierrez says the roads typically hurt the elderly, giving them back issues, and says he also noticed Julius Street deteriorating since the early 2000s and says he would like the city to pay more attention to the road.
Make us feel at least, hey, we're being taken care of, not just only other parts of Victoria, this part of Victoria as well as being taken care of by our tax dollars.
According to a spokesperson with the city of Victoria, all of Julius Street is scheduled for maintenance in fiscal year of 2028 as a part of the residential street maintenance program. Workers will use seal and restore with the mix of different materials to extend the life of the road and make it more durable. Ray Mosley, KVU TV. 25 News Now.
New at 10, Victoria County Judge Ben Zeller has filed his paperwork today for a spot on the March Republican primary ballot. Zeller says he is proud of what the county's accomplished under his leadership, from cutting taxes and raising first responder pay to supporting veterans and improving local services. He has taken on several leadership roles across the region and the state, all with the goal of helping Victoria and nearby counties grow. Zeller says there is always more to do, and he wants to keep county government efficient, transparent, and fiscally responsible. Seadrift officials are waiting to hear back from the TCEQ before giving the all clear on the city's boil water notice. That order went into effect last night after crews had to shut off water to fix a broken main near Orange Street and Sergeant Rodney Taylor. Samples were taken this morning to make sure everything is safe to drink, and once the state gives the city the green light, then the boil notice will be lifted.
For years, an 83-year-old Victoria woman has quietly struggled to stay safe in her own home.
But as 25 News Now reporter Amaya Norman shows us, help is now arriving, one community volunteer at a time, to transform her home and her life.
Nobody help me. An 83-year-old Victoria woman has been living in dangerous condition for years. Now, local community members are stepping in to change that.
It all coming in from the bottom.
Lucy's home has fallen into serious disrepair, with holes in the walls, structural damage, and no working heating or cooling air. She says the house holds memories of her late husband, and she never wants to leave it, but the conditions leave her chilled in the winter and overheated in the summer. She says she has nieces and nephews, but they don't want to help her. Leaving her here by herself, she wants to stay in this house because it holds memories of her late husband.
My house. I want to pass away over here.
When Frank Salazar learned about what she was living in, he got to work immediately. He started posting on his Facebook page to bring awareness, asking for volunteers, supplies, and donations.
If this was my family member, I couldn't let this happen. I would do exactly what I'm doing if this is someone that is my family.
And for Lucy, every person who walks through her door means the world.
You know, knowing that Lucy's 83 years old, and knowing that she can spend the rest of her days in a secure, warm, comfortable home, that's better than any paycheck I've ever received.
Even with the progress, Salazar says they still need more hands to get the job done. And thanks to those volunteers, Lucy is one step closer to having a safe and comfortable place to call home. Amaya Norman, KAVU TV, 25 News Now.
A Victoria restaurant is back for another year of serving up Thanksgiving meals to the community, and this time in partnership with a local church. Waterwell Cafe will serve plates full of turkey, dressing, sides, and dessert at Riverside Church. Everyone and anyone is invited to the church to share a meal and fellowship together. Cafe owner Jennifer King says it's not about just filling stomachs. It's about filling others with love and hope during the holidays.
Thanksgiving is pretty important to us. We want to be able to give families a gathering, a place to go and fellowship, a place to have sensibility and to have like a family, basically. We want families to be together for Thanksgiving.
King, Waterwell Cafe, and Riverside Church will serve meals from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day. Not really feeling like Thanksgiving as far as our weather goes, but, you know, we'll take what we can.
Nice weather here, Mac, but could be an issue in a few hours.
Well, the fog is going to be the problem in the morning hours for those of you driving early, but we have to get rid of this big dome of high pressure. That is what's giving us the very warm weather. We have a candidate, a very large Pacific storm, may be able to squeeze that out. And if it does, and then it'll set us up for a little rain next week. We'll be taking a much closer look at that coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. The DeWitt County Commissioners Court extended the outdoor burn ban due to ongoing dry conditions and wildfire risk. The burn ban will be in place through February 21st unless conditions improve sooner and commissioners reverse the order. For now, that means no outdoor burning of brush or other material, and if you do, it could cost you fines and restitution. If you see news happening, call our newsroom at 361-576-0026 or send us an email at staff@crossroadstoday.com.
The government shutdown is now over, but flight delays and cancellations will linger as air traffic control staff as they staff up again.
And even as federal workers wait for their first paychecks in weeks, Sherelle Hubbard reports the travel disruptions may continue as the country slowly returns to normal.
Travelers, hold on to your hats. The reopening of the government means more services are gearing up to fully come back with the return of furloughed federal employees. Essential federal workers like TSA agents and air traffic controllers have remained on the job, but with staffing issues and without paychecks. Flight delays and cancellations are expected to linger as air traffic control facilities staff back up.
It's going to take a long time. The problem is that the cascading effect that has occurred during the government shutdown is going to just kind of build on top of itself.
The federal government is open once again after President Donald Trump signed a stopgap funding bill into law late Wednesday. But Thursday, nearly 1,000 flights were canceled due to those staffing issues, FAA mandated cuts to keep the airspace safe, and other unrelated reasons. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem handed out what she said were $10,000 bonus checks to nearly 24 TSA workers at George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston for what she called exemplary service through the shutdown.
For stepping up, taking on extra shifts, for showing up each and every day.
Still, air traffic controller staffing problems were reported at Federal Aviation Administration facilities Thursday. While it remains unclear when regular operations will resume, travelers seem thankful relief is en route.
I'm really happy about that for the people that are traveling for the holidays. At least that takes it off their plate.
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
Texans could receive full SNAP benefits in days after the government shutdown ends. The U.S. Department of Agriculture Thursday ordered states to send full SNAP benefits, quote, promptly, unquote. Texas officials said they were getting ready to distribute full payments. The budget bill signed by President Trump funds SNAP through September 2026. Some Texans received up to 65% of their typical monthly payments starting Monday. 3.5 million Texans, 1.7 of them children, get food assistance. The Salvation Army of Victoria is planning its earliest start to its Red Kettle campaign. The bell ringers will start in Victoria next Monday, November 17th at 4 sites. It will be the most total days ever for the Red Kettle campaign in Victoria, winding up on Christmas Eve. The Salvation Army of Victoria's goal this year is to raise $75,000 in the Red Kettle campaign. Last year, the community contributed $43,000 to the campaign.
Golden Crescent CASA is looking for help, saying more local children need a champion in their corner during tough or dangerous home situations. CASA, or Court Appointed Special Advocates, provides one-on-one support to children in foster care or struggling with family challenges. Trained volunteers work with professional staff, families, and caseworkers to offer guidance, stability, and a voice for the children, making sure their best interests come first.
Or the rewarding side of it is helping children and families heal while they're in this process, helping children go home when possible, making sure that it's going to be safe and stable when they do so. That is the rewarding part of it. So at the end of the process, when a CASA volunteer helps that child find their final placement, we want to make sure that they are happy and healthy and in an environment where they will thrive for the future.
Golden Crescent CASA is looking for nearly 40 new volunteers to meet the growing need in our area. The only real qualification is having a loving, caring heart for children who need support. If you're interested in becoming a CASA volunteer, contact their office at 361-573-3734. Let's Grow Texas Ag is airing its 18th episode on KVCT. On Monday, it will air at 9:35 p.m. and then it will air again on Sunday, November 30th at 5:30. In this episode, Joe Adams is at Goliad State Park taking a look at the history of the Texas cattle trails. Sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, called gas station heroin, why concerns are growing over this legal over-the-counter drug.
Plus, a simple change to your smoke detector could save your child's life. The difference in the sound.
Current and former AT&T customers may qualify for part of a $177 million class action settlement. This comes after two major data breaches last year exposed personal information. Customers impacted by both data breaches could receive up to $7,500. AT&T does not dispute the incidents happened, but denies wrongdoing, saying it remains committed to protecting customer data. The deadline to file a claim is December 18th.
If you were planning on getting a little something to help you mellow out the next time you fill your gas tank, well,
ABC's Alex Stone explains why the FDA is warning that may not be the best idea.
The drug tianeptine is becoming popular in the United States, but officials are cautioning consumers not to be fooled into thinking it's safe just because it's sold over the counter. The risks are high. Often referred to as gas station heroin, tianeptine is marketed as a way to improve cognition, anxiety, depression, pain, and opioid addiction. It's sold all over the world, but here in the U.S., no government agency has placed regulatory restrictions on it. That does not mean experts are not concerned about its use. Researchers from the NIH warn young adults under the age of 35 are the most at risk of misuse, with one manufacturer recalling its products over reports of seizures, psychosis, loss of consciousness, and even death. So while high-octane fuel may power your car, chasing that next high may not be worth it. With this Medical Minute, I'm Alex Stone.
The Texas hemp industry faces a wipeout under a federal deal to end the shutdown. As part of the spending deal, federal lawmakers approved a provision cracking down on hemp products containing THC. This restores a ban Texas Republicans sought to impose earlier this year. The funding package signed into law by President Trump includes language banning the sale of hemp-derived products with more than 0.4 milligrams of THC. The measure would criminalize almost all consumable hemp products nationwide. Crossroads residents have had their fair share of fire warnings and hot and dry weather in the past year, and you never know when a blaze could strike.
In this 25 News Now Extra, reporter Trenton Whiting takes a closer look at a small but crucial household device that could be the difference between life and death in the middle of the night.
Here in the Crossroads, fires can devastate communities. And when the conditions are right, they can spark anywhere, anytime, even at night when you're sleeping. But what can stop a nighttime disaster? These life-saving alarms are the best way to alert you and your family in case of a fire.
Smoke detectors are very, very important to have. They will save your life if they're maintained right, if they're installed correctly, and if the batteries have been changed out like they're supposed to. They do save lives.
Not all detectors are built the same. A study published in the Pediatric Research Journal shows children especially may have difficulty waking up to standard detector tones. Placing detectors with human voices could be key in saving a child's life.
Justin, there's a fire in the house. You need to get out. Justin, there's a fire in the house. You need to get out and go to our meeting place.
However, the experts remind having a functioning detector of any type is better than having nothing at all.
Make sure you practice with your children home fire safety drills. It's really important. They also need to become familiar with the sound of this smoke detector. A lot of children don't know what it is, and if you don't expose them to that, they'll never know.
The campaign to protect the community from fire is underway in Victoria with the Smoke Detector Installation Initiative.
Basically, we come out into a neighborhood. We install smoke detectors, as many as you need. If you have a smoke detector in each sleeping area and you have one in the hallway, that is enough for you to be alerted in case there was smoke or fire.
Multiple studies suggest a human voice alarm, whether it's a man's voice or a woman's voice, in a child's room can increase response time to just seconds. When a fire strikes, every second counts.
A fire alarm has been activated in this house. You need to evacuate now.
Victoria firefighters will continue installing the high-pitched tone alarms in homes, and they're hoping to reach at least 90% of households in Victoria in 3 years.
The more smoke detectors we can get installed, the safer the city is going to be, and the better we can serve the citizens of Victoria. Because the earlier they get alerted, the earlier they alert us, so the faster we can get there, which would increase not only your life safety, but our odds of saving more of your belongings and home.
So, check your smoke detectors. Make sure they have batteries and are working properly. No matter what type of alarm you have, it could be the difference between life and death. Trenton Whiting, KAVU TV, 25 News Now.
And to get more news, weather, and sports, come to our website, crossroadstoday.com.
Well, good evening, everybody. We're looking at 66 degrees right there, but I'll tell you, this is very interesting. See, that's the feels like temperature, but the dew point is at 63, so that's only 3 degrees away. What that tells me is that we're real close to getting fog. We may even develop as early as midnight. So we'll be talking about the fog. We'll be talking about our high temperature today, which was 86, not anywhere close to our average high. It's supposed to be, getting chilly in November, right? Well, we'll take a look at the West Coast to see if any of that is moving in our direction. All that coming up in a moment. Well, good evening, everyone. Last night it was pretty exciting around here because some people were able to take photographs of the aurora borealis, or the northern lights. Getting the northern lights into Texas and as far south as Palacios, that's just not very unusual. The thing is, they did this with their cell phone camera, and they let it expose for a little while, and they were able to get that. But that's nothing. Look at what it looks like from the International Space Station. There's you and me down there somewhere, but you can see how the magnetosphere is what it's called, is being charged by the solar radiation, and we're getting the lights even this far south. That's very unusual. And if you got to see it, well, that's one for a lifetime there. We are looking, of course, at the southerly winds that have been fairly strong today, probably in the 25-mile-an-hour range. That keeps us on the warm side of everything. Overnight temperatures only in the 60s, daytime highs staying in the mid-80s, and it's going to be like that until this big dome finally moves out of the way. Well, we have a worthy competitor here, a very deep storm. Now, you know, I worked on the West Coast for a long time. I remember these. I know them very well. And they are basically what I used to call them. It's a hurricane of rain and snow. Okay, so that is a deep pocket that is moving ashore, already bringing rain to the West Coast, already flooding the north coast of San Francisco, already going to be flooding Los Angeles tomorrow. And of course, you know, if you have any interests out there or flying or something like that, the weather's going to be a major factor for about 4 or 5 days. Now, that's the problem. You know, if it were just a fast-moving storm, it'd be one thing. Why does that matter to you and me, or to me? Because that's going to hopefully cross the Rockies and then get into our area. So for the short term, we've got the southerly winds going to be blowing. A good day tomorrow. You won't have any problems. The weekend, it'll be t-shirts, flip-flops, and barbecue. And you may even get to work on the garden there because the weather's going to be fairly comfortable. Unfortunately, it's not that time of year. It should be getting colder. Now, overnight tonight, only about 60 degrees in the upper 50s out to the west. And tomorrow, a warm day, looking at about 85 for our area, and we should be there over the weekend. So remember, when the lines go up, this is the dome of stable air. When the lines go down, that is a trough of lower pressure, and that's where all the storminess is. So we'll look at it Thursday, and we'll look at it Friday. What happens? Well, that comes ashore to the northwest and down there in Southern California. Then we go to Saturday. Boy, that is mean looking right there. That is going to be a big, powerful, you're going to hear about flooding in LA in the next 2-3 days. And then all of a sudden, what about us? Well, it's strong enough that it's going to knock the pressure down. In fact, by the time we get to Monday, Tuesday, right about there, you see how rain begins to develop in Texas because the big trough is now coming into the western states. That is a big winter storm, and by the time it gets here Wednesday, it's a good chance we may get some kind of rain out of it. Not directly, but it's going to lower pressures enough to allow us to pick up something. So keep your fingers crossed, okay? Looking partly cloudy tomorrow, high of 82. Cuero getting up to about an 85. Like I said, through the weekend, it's t-shirts and flip-flops, and then hopefully on Tuesday, Wednesday, we start picking up a rain chance with the tail end of that frontal system rolling in, but I don't see any real cold air through the next 7 days. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Quick response. Take a picture of that with your phone, and you can put Crossroads Today on your cell phone. We'll toss it over to Max, who's talking high school football.
That's right, Mac. I'm talking high school football after the break. We're going to highlight some big-time highlights and scores here for the first round of the playoffs and reveal our athlete of the week. That's all coming up next in sports. All right, before we get to the first round of high school football highlights and scores, we're going to reveal this week's Athlete of the Week. We're handing it to Texas A&M Victoria men's soccer player Messiah Boney. Here's more for our Athlete of the Week.
This week's Athlete of the Week goes to Texas A&M Victoria men's soccer defender Messiah Boney. Messiah is first A&M Victoria soccer player to play at the international level, representing his home country of Dominica. He represented Dominica for the third time, with the previous two at the State Fair Community College located in Missouri. But his main reason to play for Dominica was to make his family and his younger brother proud.
Seeing how much it means to him, how much it means to my mom, how much she actually cares about it, you know, and how far it can actually bring us. It was a game changer.
Messiah is following his older brother's footsteps in Marcellus, who played for Dominica before him. But that wasn't the main reason why he wanted to play. He wanted to try it on his own and take a risk, and he highlights how the game of soccer is played in Dominica.
Home is way more physical, way more, you gotta have a really good mindset to play.
Texas A&M Victoria men's soccer coach Vince Martinez was excited to hear Messiah was playing for his country and couldn't happen to anyone else.
Full roster, who do you think would represent their coach, their country? Messiah would be on the top of my list. His work ethic, the way he conducts himself, with his diets, his training, and so forth, is second to none.
With his determination to be the best for his country, he's excited for the opportunity to show the world his talents.
Ready to go out there and show the world that I can play as well, and us Dominicans can play as well, not just me, obviously.
Messiah played against St. Martin last night, and their team would lose 2-1. Dominican national team looks to get back on track versus St. Martin this Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. in St. Kitts and Nevis. Wish him luck. Congrats for being this week's Athlete of the Week.
All right, it's time to reveal here high school football action. We first start at the number 3 seed Yorktown Wildcats facing the Agua Dulce Longhorns. Both teams heading in at 7-3, but Agua Dulce will start off first. A nice run from number 21, Aiden Martinez, gets him inside the 5-yard line. Why not just give the ball right back to him, right? Gets it in there for the touchdown. And at this moment in time, Agua Dulce is up here 20-12 in the game. It was first of all, 12-12 for a score. That was just very interesting to start with. But guess what? Yorktown's offense would not stay quiet. How about this from Brody Medding? He just gets a nice run, gets through a couple defenders, and again, had to find a way to get through this tackle right here. How about this? Barely gets down there inside the red zone. The next play after that, how about this throw right here? Getting the touchdown, and number 2, Brandon Knotzman for the touchdown. And Yorktown in this game, their offense started to click. The defense, when they needed to make plays, they get the job done, and they win this one with the final score being 58-34. So Yorktown, with this big-time win, will be advancing, either face the D'Hanis Lions or the Granger Lions in the next round. How about the Edna Cowboys? They were taking on the San Diego Vaqueros, and again, first of all, it's about all the Cowboys, right, for both of these teams. But Edna, how would they kind of do? Because they had to rebound, get on this offense, and guess what? Their defense started off quick. This is the first drive of the game. How about the defense right here? Big interception from Kyler Ronalds. He gets it up there airborne, and he takes it all the way for a pick 6. And Edna, that would kind of just get the tempo going in this game. 7-0 early on this one. But then late there in the first quarter, going into it there, how about this play right here for Norman, the running back? It's inside for the touchdown. And this moment in time, it was 14-0 Edna. And again, problem was for San Diego, turnover after turnover. Edna capitalized, and the final score in this contest between both of these teams would be 63-7. The Edna Cowboys would get the win. So officially, they're either going to face the Uritzen Saguas or the Marion Bulldogs in the next round. Let's take a trip out to Ingleside for some 3 Division I postseason ball. First of all, between Goliad, they got the number 2 seed in the district. They're facing a Bishop Badgers team that's trying to see if they can get a major upset in this one. Bishop start off strong, though. A mistake here. It looks like it's a kickoff, but then a mistake. How about getting up and jumping for the ball? You always got to be aware on special teams where the ball is at all times, and a big time there for, again, Goliad, because on that same drive, it makes a big time play. A fumble, though, happens. Again, you can never have that. Both teams made some big mistakes early in this game, and Bishop would capitalize. Then the next play after that, a big time throw and an interception. Again, you saw it's just turnover after turnover, takes it all the way in there for 6. And this game, Goliad, I mean, they made some plays, But at the end of the day, they would get the victory here in this one, 49-7 there for Goliad. They're either going to face the Crystal City Javelinas or the Randolph Rohawks in the next rounds. Quickly check out two final scores. First with Ganado facing the Three Rivers Bulldogs, and Ganado would win this one 55-0 there in this contest. They're going to face the Thorndale Bulldogs in the second round. Now over to Shiner as they face the Ben Bowl Badgers here tonight. They won 67-6. They're either going to face the Burden Panthers or the Brackett Tigers in the next round. If you want to check out Tidehaven and Hallettsville scores, just check on my website. Then I'm going to post there later on crosswordtoday.com/sports. And that's going to do it here in sports. Don, Shawna, back to you.
Max, thank you, and stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, we'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, imagine getting paid to taste cheese all day. Sounds Gouda. One politician is making that dream a reality.
Tonight, we kick off 80s Week. Is it weird for you to think of a young George Clooney singing along in his car to your songs?
George is still young. Come on.
That's right.
Thank you. I always liked Christopher Cross.
Cheese lovers, it was a job too Gouda to be true. A taster tasked with deciding the world's best cheese for 2025 out of more than 5,000 cheeses around the world. An aged Swiss Gruyere from a dairy in Switzerland walked away with the top prize. One of the judges described its flavor profile as butterscotch caramel savory, some fruit funk notes, and some slight burn on there like charcoal. I don't know. He says 3 cheeses later, the judges could still taste it.
Wow.
I don't know. I can't tell if that sounds good or not.
Yeah, it looks sharp to me. But it sounds like we're not going to have sharp conditions for driving in the morning.
Yeah, that's the problem. We're going to be looking at foggy conditions tomorrow morning, folks, so drive carefully early in the morning. Otherwise, we're looking for warm weather right on through a good-looking weekend. If you like, 85-degree temperatures, going to be in the backyard, maybe even grilling a little bit. Early next week, we start on Monday picking up a chance of a rain, and then the little frontal system coming in Wednesday, hopefully with a little bit better chance of rain.
Thank you, Mac. If you're thinking about getting a dog and can't think of a name, then you're in luck. The American Kennel Club just released its list of the most popular names of the year. Max has reclaimed the top spot for most popular name. Hank, Teddy, Cooper, and Gus right out the top 5. Luna was the most popular female name, followed by Bella, Daisy, Lucy, and Ruby. The rankings based on registration statistics and enrollments in its AKC Canine Partners program.
All right. Real quickly before we leave, we want to thank Agnes Knight for sending us this picture of her kitten, Joy. And she pointed out that it has its name on the side of it. It says Joy in the furs pattern. So she thought it was neat. We thought it was neat. Wanted to share it with everybody. And great way to end the night.
Yes, indeed. Jimmy Kimmel Live starts now.